Welcome in, everyone. Hey, today things are a little different, as you can see. We're starting out with a few technical difficulties because we have an amazing and loving angel here to be with us today, Li Cara. And I'm so excited about that. So while we're waiting, because I have no idea how to do this technology, while it's waiting to sort out, hold space for us. And I'd like you to go to our YouTube channel, subscribe. I'd like you to hit the like button. I'd like you to go to our page, Spirit Sessions of View of the Light, and like over there too. And then you guys will always be in touch with what we're doing. And it's always amazing. We were getting together, we're feeling we need some nurturing. Have we all? You, all of us, have we not been rolling from one thing to another, handling it all with our best that we can? But I want some time to come together and just download that stuff a little bit and just kind of let it out and let it flow. And so I've got a little bit of sage burning here. I want a little bit more burning. Hang on. Here we go. And I invite you in to allow and imagine the smoke is just clearing out the negativity around you, clearing out just whatever it is you don't need to hang on to no more. And as that's leaving, feel yourself being filled up with this beautiful royal blue light of Archangel Michael. And usually about then I start feeling Metatron, and the Metatron's cube safely around me. That way I can go and embark on all the spiritual adventures I'm ready for. Mm-hmm. Feel that energy around you. Fill yourself up with it. And Bex, what are we going to do now?
I don't know.
Li Cara here.
I don't know. We're going to wing it. That's what we're going to do. We're going to do what we do best and just flow with it because, yeah, that's just how we're doing it. So I'm just sharing it out real quick on a couple of places. And then I guess we can see, I think, can you hear us, Lee?
Yep, I can hear you. I just can't see my face.
Perfect. Okay, so we're just going to roll with it, and we'll have you be the invisible, amazing Li Cara.
Oh, no. But I look so lovely.
I believe it.
Are you protesting? No. Li Cara, why I wanted you here was because I sat there and I was thinking, oh, I should invite this guest. Oh, I should invite this. You know what? Stop. I'm going to ask our Spirit Sessions angels what we need to bring in for our audience. And she overwhelmingly showed me your name. And then I was flooded with what your energy feels like. And so I want to thank you for saying yes and coming on our show. Welcome.
Always, always, always. I appreciate you inviting me. I was excited. It's been a minute since I've connected with you ladies. So I'm super excited.
There's just nothing like your energy and the way you put things, your voice, the perspective that you give to others. Man, that piece is invaluable. It's worth more than $1 million when that comes over me anyway. So I'm sure it's for everybody else as well. I wonder what we can do to get
I appreciate that.
Because
I have been going nuts with my computer. I restarted it. I allowed all the things. I pushed all the permissions. I could go out and come back in on my phone, and then my beautiful face would be here. It'd take about 2 minutes, but it's up to y'all if you want me to try that. We're live already,
let's try that.
Yeah, let's try it.
Your voice is good, but there's a whole package
flow,
together.
you know what I'm saying?
Radiating love. So yeah, do that and come back.
All right, give me 2. I will be right back in.
Do you see down there where it says leave studio? That's how you get out.
That's right. I am a full pack. We are all a full package. So, okay, give me 2.
Well, happy full moon, everybody. Happy blue moon in Aquarius. It's beautiful, beautiful energy right now, so we get to enjoy that. Although it's super cloudy here.
How does that affect the blue moon I mean, the
Well, blue
moon
moons are always like an amplification of the energy of the first full moon, but it's kind of feels like it's shifted a little bit. It feels like the first full moon was kind of more intense, and this one's easing up a little bit, bringing in more good energies, good vibes, because we're in the age of Aquarius too. So kind of getting a little glimpse of what we're going to be having. I think we're clearing stuff out big time, opening up for new and beautiful things. And it's good. It's, just being able to flow with it. If you feel a really deep, intense release of emotions, go with it. Let it out.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember there's this quote from Greg Braden, and I'll probably just mess it up, but it has something to do with before we can really move on to what's future for us individually or especially collectively as well, you kind of have to mourn what was lost. And then we can move on. And I kind of feel with that flow that's going on right now, rushing through, it's like, it's not just my sadness leaving, it's other people's sadness that I can feel going through. And so there's a lot of it. And in a way, it's beautiful as can be. But in another way, it's like, oh God, what next? So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's, and we're just kind of holding space for, as much healing as possible right now that we're all kind of moving through it. It's nice to see everybody today. Stephanie Lynn is on, and Judy Bloss, and Marla Torres, and Nancy Louise. We love you all so much, and we're happy to see you guys. And Nancy, I have not gotten passed by with Henry yet. It's coming. We're going to get the rain tomorrow night. It looks like he's going through New Hampshire, but it won't be a hurricane. Then it'll just be a tropical storm, so not too bad. But lots of rain and some wind. We'll be okay.
A terrible storm hit my area, and I really didn't know if it was a hurricane or not. I'm too far inland. I don't know what it was.
Right.
But pray for Waverly, everybody. They got flooded and had lots of lost lives.
Yeah.
So send love to Midwest,
love and prayers.
Tennessee. Li Cara made it back.
Yay! And you look stunning. Look at you.
Thank you. The angle is not great now, but you can all pretend
It's
like you're
okay.
looking down on me from heaven. How's that?
I can
All
feel
right.
right. Spiraling up and out. It's, oh my God,
Yes.
Sarah, you know what I remember about you?
What?
Oh my
Tell
God,
me.
This is the coolest. I used to, you think you could pick a show and listen to it and walk away while you're doing things because you're listening? But I would see so many orbs go by your window that it's like, I'm going to sit down and count these orbs.
Yeah. It's the craziest thing. I honestly keep thinking I should go back through my shows and make a compilation and put it on YouTube for ghosts and because they're so popular,
That would be awesome. Definitely do that.
So funny. I'm so happy to be here with you guys. Yes, I have my co-host here in the background. I'm sure they'll be passing through. One of them is looking for a boyfriend, so she might be a little loud, everyone. Just like me, just like her mama,
we're all on the prowl sometimes. We understand.
Ain't that the truth? Ain't that the truth?
I love it. That's great.
Li Cara, my friend, what is it that made you you? Can you tell me about some of your journey that brought you to where you exude this wonderful, loving comfort that you do?
Well, it started out with a childhood full of needing to be a people pleaser and went into a 27-year career working in restaurants. In late 2012, 2011, 2012-ish, I had my awakening, just like so many other people did when that wave came through. I had never been religious. I was miserable. I looked happy on the outside. I looked, joyous on the outside and did all the right things and had 3 kids and all that. But I was miserable and I was a cutter. I did self-harm until I awakened. I have scars up and down my arms and my legs, but I consider them like battle wounds, And so when I had my awakening, they channeled me a book like this. That's the Unleash Your Light. That's the thing I've been doing. And I got it channeled. It's a short book, simple things you can do in your everyday life to access the divine within us, to feel the God energy in everyday stuff, right? So I finished this book in 2 or 3 days. I've never done religion. I've never done any of that. I'm the girl who argues with the Jehovah's Witnesses when they came to the door. That was me. That was me. Let's debate about whether God exists. That was me. And so I said, okay, so now what? First of all, I'm hearing voices and I think I'm going crazy, but I might as well talk to them if they're there, you know, talking to me. And I said, so what now? And they said, now do the steps. That's it. And that's what I've been doing, is doing the steps and sharing my journey publicly. There's literally videos on my YouTube channel from 2013 when I started actually making, you know, videos on this stuff. So they're very old. I look very sad in them. Even though I'm saying all the same things, I can literally see like the pain and sadness oozing out of me, you know? And I'm just went along my way. And the longer I do this, the more I trust the universe, the more I trust the messages, the more I listen. I've learned that if I try to ignore or if I try to take a different path, it often turns out painful and not fun at all, and not fun, you know, to experience, although obviously necessary because my questionable free will got me into that, you know. But, you know, and it's just this journey of going forward. I recently had this big, like, wonk, like a shift upside the head. And I know that we've all been going through a lot of division in our community, a lot of pain in our community. And so, you know, that I take everything that I went through. Bashar says something very interesting that I think is necessary to say right now. And it doesn't matter who Bashar is if you don't know who he is, or if anyone out there doesn't know who he is. There is only now, okay? And each moment we are who we are now. And if I am choosing, let's say that I'm an addict and I'm in pain all the time, physical pain, emotional pain, mental pain. If I choose not to do that, and I live that reality, right? And I'm trying to stay on that path. The past where I was an addict no longer exists on my timeline. So I don't have to carry the baggage of that pain. I can observe it. I can use the lessons from it, but I don't have to carry it with me. I retain the knowledge and leave the ball and chains behind. And so stepping into this, that shift, that was about like a year and a half ago where I really like went, oh my God, that's true. Like all those times I was abused and hurt and taken advantage of and all of the cheating and the lie, everything that happened to that version of me in that timeline. But I'm not living that timeline anymore. I'm living this timeline, but I still remember. It doesn't mean no boundaries. It doesn't mean I don't have my, you know, everyone has their lines and what's okay for them, but it does mean that I always question it. I always question my boundaries. I always question, you know, my instant reaction of, you're not doing that. You're not in my life. You know, like it's a questioning now. So being able to release and not even have that being affecting me gave me a huge like a push forward, like you're pulling back the arrow, right? You've seen the things, you're pulling back the arrow. That was releasing the arrow when I realized that's a different timeline. And the timeline where I am heading towards all the things that the universe needs me for doesn't have that as its history, doesn't carry that as a badge of honor. No, I don't want to carry that around and talk about my bad times for the rest of my life and carry it like it means something anymore, because it doesn't. It doesn't.
This is true because I've been recently getting messages for people when I've been doing Akashic readings and channeling and stuff. The messages are coming through that everything that happened that brought you to where you are now, really, that's it. Consider us starting from this point on
100.
with all the light. The lessons, we learned them. That's why we have all these skills that we have. We don't need to carry those. And just to walk forward from here on. And it's like, whoa, we're out of the mucky muck and moving now.
100. And everything is sped up. And the manifestations are coming faster. And especially people who already have that gift, like who already know that they can manifest a parking spot or, you know, have somebody call them. Even the ones who can already do it well are noticing that it's like this, like barely a thought. And that's part of the reason why, segue into the title, what are you amplifying, is so important, because things are going so much quicker and faster that literally our thoughts are telling the universe this is what we need to receive so we can continue moving forward. So what you're focused on, what you're thinking about, how you see things is like a million times more important than it was even just 3 or 4 months ago. That Lion's Gate jumping through really shifted a lot in the physical, you know, really did. We had I did a show on it. I did a video on it. It's like a Schrodinger's box. And where we can all see where we're kind of narrowing down the versions of reality, right? So we have one version that we look at and we see our past, the things we've gone through, the pain we were in, and we can see our destructive patterns, our karmic loops, our all those things. And what I said there, some people choose their karmic loops because they love them, because they're their family, because, you know, it's familiar. A familiar hell is sometimes better than an unfamiliar heaven. And then we have this other cat in the box that is all the things that you see when the universe speaks to you, all the things you see about your mission, your purpose, this life led without those burdens. And it's literally us every moment choosing, is the cat alive or is the cat dead? It's literally us choosing in every single word, thought, and action. What do we want to live? What do we want to live? Because we do have free will, and it is a choice. And while change doesn't happen like this, it does happen if you're focused on it, you know? It's fascinating. So fascinating.
Wow, you are full of so much. We could listen to this again and again and have volumes of what you just put through. So
you're not the first person to tell me I'm full of it. Let me tell you.
You're full of the good stuff.
There you go. I hope so.
But no, it's you know, it's so true, and it's so important. Like, you know, there's a lot of things that are happening right now that people are feeling like their energy, their lives, everything seems so intensified. And it's about learning how to handle the energies, not just try to, you know, avoid them, or it's working with them, you know, learning how to flow with them, learning how to be in them without having to label it, right? Without having to try to, you know, like when you have that moving energy in your body and you're immediately like, oh, I'm having anxiety. Well, what if it's not anxiety? What if it's actually just a lot of energy in your body? Figure out a way to move it, figure out a way to work with it, right? Instead of just going right into the label and letting yourself be, you know, weighed down by it. So I think that we're just learning how to move through things faster, learning how to understand things differently, going for the broader perspective instead of making everything all about the tiny little details, right?
100.
You know, it's such a huge shift, but at the same time, it's just like life is shifting so dramatically that we're like the way that things have been and the way things are becoming, we're in that in between, you know? It's like trying to attach to anything right now is going to leave you suffering, you know, letting things just flow through.
And that's really such a huge part of the observer position. You have to be able to exist in the observer position as much as you exist in the now, right here. And there's a level of detachment that many look at as being cold. Many look at it as, how can you stand for that? But recognizing that everything is created by divine, recognizing that every person is inhabited by divine, that every life force is divine. You can shift your perspective on these things. You know, all time happens all the time. And so if something hurt you in the past and it's still hurting, then it's still happening. If somebody threw a rock at you on the playground and called you a freak, and when you think about it, you still well up and cry. Or when somebody, you know, verbally attacks you in the present and you react as if it was those kids on the playground and you're going to beat them down. You are literally living in that time all the time because you haven't healed it, because you haven't worked with it, because you haven't at least acknowledged it and said, hey, you know, that's not the truth. Comforted your little kid, however you like to do that sort of thing. I have videos on healing with time travel where I talk about going back in your mind, you know, and doing that. And it's so important to bring that into our current perspective and recognize that shared experience with the person who is hurting you, you know, which sounds terrible. But when you can detach from the emotional connection to needing their validation, needing to be worthy, needing to be recognized, needing to be even seen, which is a big, everybody wants to be seen. Everybody wants to be heard, but you are wherever you are, whatever you are doing, you are always seen, you are always heard, you are always divine, you are always connected. It is an infinite well of divine energy that flows through us. We are always the perfect frequency. We are always the perfect vibration. It is the human that dampens it. It's like having a limiter on an engine that can't go over 65 or can't go over 70. When you take that limiter off and you allow and you observe and you detach from the outcomes and you detach from your emotional whatevers, then everything looks different. And detaching from a person, the emotional outcome, does not mean that you don't love them. It doesn't mean that you don't care for them. But a lot of us, please excuse my French, a lot of us have Captain Save-A-Ho syndrome. You know what I'm saying? Like we want to save everyone, and especially at the beginning of our journey, I have to save everyone. I'm not doing enough to save everyone. Oh my gosh. But so many of us, because we're empaths, we absorb rather than observe. We put our worth as a healer on their healing. We put our worth as a wife on our husband's or wife's behavior. We put our value as a mother on the outcome of how our children are. And none of that, if you detach from all of those markers to show your progress, then that's so funny. Thank you, Kelly. I appreciate that. If you detach from the outcomes of those while still holding the empathy, the compassion, the space, or however you like to say, like I'm wishing for you, I got vibes for you, I'm connected to you. You can do all of that and not have their outcome determine your worth or your validation.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a hard thing to do.
It is, but as you were talking, I totally got this like insight on something that we can practice to help us. Is like when something calls for our attention, when something comes up that's like, emotionally, we have an emotional reaction within us. That's the perfect time to pause. If you feel that something is really like, whoa, really causing you to just be like, what is happening? Or this is really great and wonderful. It doesn't matter either end of the spectrum, take a pause, just
100.
pause and look at it. Just pause and feel it. Why am I so excited about this? Or why does this not feel good? What is this? What is my body telling me? What are my thoughts telling me? What is happening within me to show me how this resonates, within me? And it's like, it's so important that if we learn to just pause before responding, before, making decisions, if we spend more time pausing instead of feel like we always have to jump right in, whatever it is, even if it's something that feels like it's really hurting us, we don't have to accept that hurt. We can pause, we can sit
Every
with
strong reaction is a clue. Right. Every strong reaction that you have is a clue to something in you that needs a little attention, work, healing, however you like to say it. I'm not the semantics girl, so I don't care how people frame things. You know what I'm saying? But it's a clue, and you have to be Scooby and the gang. If you want true healing, you have to be Scooby and the gang. Every time something makes you mad, every time something hurts your feelings, even if you get overly excited, every time you get anxiety, every strong feeling. Oh, I lost my light. Every strong feeling is a clue for Scooby and the gang to dig down in. And you don't have to do it that moment. You can literally turn around and wait. You can make notes. You can make yourself a notebook, like if you do journaling or whatever works for you. And it's so important because so many things in the world right now piss us off.
Yeah.
And that's true. Part of this. What are you amplifying thing? Every time you get mad about someone holding a sign, it's a clue to something in you. Every time you get mad about someone's face coverings, every time you get mad about someone's lack thereof, every time you get mad about what somebody says, somebody does, some post you read, that's a clue for you to see where your spaces are, where your little wounds are, where your boo-boos are, If you got, I got glass, I had a car accident when I was 17 years old, I got glass in my arm. And I picked out the main pieces, went to the emergency room, and they said, well, you have a lot of shattered glass in your arm and your head, but they're very tiny. We can't pick them out. They'll grow out of you over the next month or so. And so it's this constant like, oh, there's another piece of glass. Oh, there's another piece of glass. This is the process that we go through, right? But now that things are sped up, those pieces are growing out way, way quicker. And if you don't pick them out, they get infected under the surface. If you don't pull them out, then you have pain because the little pieces of glass are still under the skin on your arm. They cause an infection that you won't see. Now you have an infection somewhere that you can't see. And sometimes people go years with infections that they don't even know about. My brother-in-law passed because he had an infection in a little pocket on his heart that nobody could see. And he got hit with a softball at exactly the right spot, and it burst the infection, and he passed like instantly. And so you never know what is under the surface if you're not paying attention to those clues of that made me mad, that person hurt me, I don't like what they said, I don't like what they did. I always tell people, if you're watching me and I make you mad, save it for later. Don't just log out. Save it for later. It's important, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. It's just, you know, it's amazing to be able to bear witness to these experiences that we're having and this journey that we're all on, that we're co-creating together. You know, this world is shifting dramatically. We're shifting dramatically, and you know, even to think about where we're going to be at the end of this year is mind blowing. Absolutely mind blowing.
Who knows?
I know.
Who knows? I mean, honestly, energetically, something big shifts. Like we're in a blue moon right now.
Yeah.
You know, and every time there's a major astrological kind of tie-in. Now, I'm not that girl. I have a friend who is that girl. But every time that you know, that big thing happens, that energy is affecting us. And really, we've sat in this space of fear. We have a fear-based catalyst that happened when this thing came in, you know, back in early 2020. And that fear-based catalyst has caused fight or flight. And many people think I'm not afraid, but their very resistance is motivated by fear. And then the people who say, yes, I'm afraid, of course that's motivated by fear. So it's both sides, right? And the point that caused so much division. The point of this whole experience is, yes, and Uranus is in retrograde. Absolutely, Michelle. That's watch out for that. That's all self-reflection, y'all. So. But that space that we have of division is exactly what we need to see unity. There is duality in all things. And the point of duality is to achieve non-duality, right? To see both realities existing, both perspectives existing, to see their side, to have empathy, to have compassion, whether you understand it or not. And that's like such a huge thing. And I will say the word, I've been doing a lot on this lately. The universe gave me a big thing. Oneness, hello. Is oneness still a thing? Because back in 2017, 2018, everybody was talking about oneness. And then all of a sudden, boom, it's gone. And nobody's talking about it anymore. And people hate each other. And I've been attacked and called a sheep more often than I could possibly remember. Honestly, it does not hurt my feelings because I've detached from that sort of thing. But it is very frustrating to see people that I love going at it, to see people that I love shifting into that space of, I don't want to call it victim mentality, but the world is evil and there's things that are out to get us and there's an evil agenda, and however you like to look at it. And I don't want to discount any of that, because whatever you're believing is what is real to you. And who am I to say what's real and not real in this world? Let me tell you, okay? But the thing that we have to remember in this space is it's not about what they're saying, the people who are opposite of you, whoever they are, that person with the picket sign that makes you want to throw something at the TV, or that person in the store who is either wearing or not wearing a mask, whatever it is that's making you angry. The purpose of that is not to show you it's us and them. The purpose of that is for each one of us to see, that's me. That's me. We're all drops of God, right? We're all drops of the ocean. We're all pieces of the light having individualized experiences. But when we return, we are the ocean. We aren't a drop in the ocean when we return to our source. We aren't a piece of God when we return to the light. We are that, right? And we are connected to everything. And so recognizing that piece in those who make you the most angry is shifting your perspective. When you see the God energy, the divine energy, call it what you want, call it Fred, it doesn't matter what you call it. When you see that energy and recognize it in someone else, it changes everything. Because when you can look at someone who is doing something that hurts them, and that is and they are in turn hurting others. And you see what it comes from. It comes from pain. It comes from abuse as a child. It comes from trauma. It comes from the story that they were told their whole life about how everything is against you and you have to fight for everything that you have. It's that space that motivates someone to hurt children comes from their own human experience of pain that they went through. They're not born adults and evil. They were born pure, just like you. And so when we can see that in the person that makes us the maddest in the world, that's oneness. Doesn't mean you have to agree with them. Doesn't mean you have to be on their side. It doesn't mean any of that. What it means is you see God in them first. And then that will affect how you see what they're doing. If you see someone who was beat by their father, okay, I'm obviously very liberal. I'm a mask wearer. I'm a sheep, whatever you want to call me. But when I see the people who are committing violence in the name of what they believe is liberating the children, liberating our country, whatever it is, I see a young child who was probably told by their father or mother, you're nothing, you're nobody, this world is going to take you, it's going to take everything you have, you're going to amount to nothing unless you man up, or unless you know, like I picture this lifetime of verbal abuse. I see the times when they were stomped under someone bigger's foot, you know. Right. I don't just see a grown-up who is angry. I see a divine entity who's had to ride around with this poor person who is in so much pain that now they're parking their truck and trying to blow things up, that now they're breaking out windows, that now they are attacking people on the street because they have so much fear and so much anger from the life that they have led. And that is the shift. We can't fix them. We can't change them. We can't save all the children. We can't go to Afghanistan. Here in my space, that's not my place. Some people, it is their place. But most of us, all we can do is sit here. What are we amplifying when we see that? Because we are constantly broadcasting, we are constantly amplifying our thoughts, always. We are like radio towers, like the RKO radio tower from back in the old days, or the Rocky Horror Picture Show. And so when you look at that person, because we're connected to them, if you feel anger, you're sending them anger. And you're pushing anger out into the world. If you are disgusted, you are sending them disgust, which fuels them, by the way, because they're looking for that pushback, right? If they think everything is a fight, then they're looking for the pushback. So you're giving it to them when you are disgusted by them, you know? And that's what you will be amplifying out into the world. And so that's why every moment, every thought, every action, every intention has to be conscious, has to be paid attention to. And it seems like, how could I possibly do that? I react how I react. I feel how I feel. That's not true. Those reactions and those feelings come from the place created, the human created by your pain. And there is a version of you that doesn't have all of that. Like we talked about earlier, if you can let go of those things from the past, then you don't still have to feel some type of way about it. And then you can get past it and see the pain in the other person, because literally they are reflecting you. They are reflecting our inner pain. And if it's not your personal inner pain, it's your sister or your brother's inner pain that they are reflecting, that of course you would want to heal, right? Of course you would want to save space for. Of course you would react more, you know, calmly to, more, you know, in a spiritual way too. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Absolutely. Do you have something experiential for our audience today? If not, that's okay. I just figured I'd throw it out and see if there's something that you want to maybe bring us all through, like a short meditation or, you know, or visualization.
100%.
Okay, cool.
Well, I told you I had a big shift myself over the last few months. I went dark on all social medias. I did nothing for like a month and a half. Now I still did a lot, but not on social media. Right. And I did it because the universe told me to, not because I was fed up, not because I had a problem. I did it because the universe said, don't do that today. And I was doing daily tarot readings on TikTok. I have a little TikTok following where I do, you know, tarot readings every single day. And I did them every single day for a year. And then they went, don't do that. Don't do that. When I stepped into that and said, all right, now I have felt that you have to do it. You're not doing enough. You're not doing enough. You know, that thing that we've all felt. You're not enough, right? We all have that in us.
Yes.
As soon as I went, okay, and stepped back, everything in my life changed. I had a moment where I went, this is going to be hard to believe, where I went beyond words. Now, I know that this is the point of meditation, right? To get to that point where you're not thinking thoughts, you're just existing. I've never been able to do that because my mind goes a million miles away. I do sit quietly, but I always find that my mind is doing something, you know? And sometimes it's talking to the universe and sometimes I'm talking to myself. But there was a space, I was literally moving. I was going for a walk, which in and of itself is a whole other story, where words melted away. We as humans feel the need to verbalize and to figure out how to explain everything that's happening in our life. If we're in a beautiful storm, like raining, we'll go, oh, the rain feels so good, right? But the space beyond that, where it's only feeling with no trying to describe it, trying to frame it, I had that moment. And I was like blown away, and the trees were talking to me and everything. And I promised I hadn't taken anything yet that day. And you know, it was transformational for me because of that constant, my whole life, a million voices screaming at me, you know? So part of that was this oneness message when I did that, because I was literally in that moment, I was everything. I felt everything. I felt like the end of the Highlander movie. If y'all have never seen Highlander, there can be only one. And the answer at the end, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen the movie that came out in 1984, is that we are everything. We know everything. We are everything. We feel everything all at the same time in this individual thing. And him winning meant that he got to recognize that the human limiter dropped away. Okay. So that is what led to this message of oneness that the universe has been putting on me. So I do have a little exercise about oneness for your peeps. If y'all are ready.
Let's do it.
Now, I'm not a meditation specialist, but let's just take a moment. Okay, here we go. So I want everyone out there to take just a moment and to connect with that divine within you. Whatever that space is in you that feels connected to divine, that knows that you are loved, that feels the protection, that sits in that space of everything. Now, from that space, I want you to really put yourself in the observer position. Lift up into it. However you get to that observer position, I want you to get to it. Then I want you to think about the person who makes you the most angry. Think about the topic that just boils your blood, that you think they are terrible, they are horrible, the most disgusting thing. And I want you to sit for just a moment, seeing the God within that, seeing the divine within that person, and recognizing their piece of divine before you see that issue that makes you mad. And that's a difficult thing to do. But when you do that, you might get a flash of their whole life. You might get a flash of the compassion. You might get a flash of them getting beaten, them getting hurt, believe it. When the universe shows that to you, believe it, because even if it isn't that person's story, it is the story that begins pain. And then send that trauma the same love and healing that you would give yourself, that you would give to the person that you love the most in the world. Look upon that person who makes you the angriest as if they are the one you love the most, as if they are your partner in life and you are ride or die for them. Because that doesn't mean that you have to agree with them. I'm not asking you to do that. The universe doesn't want you to do that. But the universe does want you to see that they are you and you are them. And from that space, once you get to that where you can love that person, pull back into your observer position and re-examine the conflict between the two of you. the issue between the two of you. Re-examine what is making you so mad. And I want you to feel that feeling now of the anger. It may have shifted a little bit. It may not be as intense, but I want you to feel the feeling, not the details around why. Let go of the why and just feel that anger that you have that is now tinted with compassion and empathy. And think back in your life when you felt that anger before. Is it helplessness? Is it feeling small? Is it feeling like you're not good enough? Whatever it is for you, go back in your life to when you felt that feeling before and it was wrapped in a different skin, in a different issue. And that's where you start healing and you love it and you hug it and you say to it, you know, I love you. You are protected. It's okay that you're having this issue. I forgive that person. I forgive myself for believing whatever it was, whatever angry state, whatever pain, whatever wound they gave me. I forgive myself for carrying it. And then you go back again. You can do this as far back as you can remember with every moment that makes you angry. And the more you do it, the better you get at it. And the more you do it, the more you release the ball and chain that is attached to you from every single wound you have received, because each wound was a growth opportunity. Each wound was like a lesson in class. And how are you going to solve this? And some of us have been carrying them for 50 something years, 60 something years, carrying that same wound that taints everything we look at. So come back to that space where you're feeling your connection with divine. And then you can step out of it. And you will get quicker and faster at this. The more you practice this, you can do this any moment, at any time during your day. And it shifts what you amplify. It shifts how you see every single situation. If you see their pain first, if you see the life they led first, and whether you believe, oh, that's fake, I made that up, it doesn't matter because it's somebody's story. If you don't want to believe that little picture in your head, you know, it is a difficult exercise, and it is not for the faint of heart. You have to be brutally honest with yourself when it comes to shifting your perspective, because it means acknowledging that you may not be right. It means acknowledging that your world may not be what you think it is. It means acknowledging that other truths and realities can exist in the same space as yours, whether you actually ascribe to them or not.
A little intense, but beautiful.
Sorry.
No,
like I said, I'm
good.
not the meditation master.
No, it was really good.
Yeah.
Because you shifted it very quickly. Like when you had us, like, you know, feel the anger, it was hot, but then it eased up. You know, it did. So,
what happened?
well, I just brought up. I'll talk about it. I'm fine. Like I brought up parental issues. Like, you know, I have mommy and daddy issues, and so those are the two people that I have the most, you know, passionate, hard feelings with. So I brought that up and you know, sat with each of them and saw them each as, you know, like for some reason my vision was for them at like around 3 years old, each of them, and that, you know, the fear that they felt, the sadness they felt, you know, not feeling safe and secure, whatever it was, and how that started to snowball into the things that came about, you know, that maybe led to them not being able to be as present or as loving and supportive as, you know, maybe I needed. So it really shifted it a lot. You know, the anger is there. It was hot. And it's only because it's fresh, because I had an experience yesterday that was right on the surface. But it was perfect timing because it gave me the opportunity to kind of sit with it for a minute instead of just being angry, you know.
Our expectations of others cause us suffering.
Yeah.
Because we expect our mothers to be motherly, we cause ourselves pain in that, you know. And when we're a kid, we don't know better. But once we grow up and become mothers, we recognize that we're also us. We're also human. We have all the same self-defense mechanisms, that were built by our own trauma that we then out all over our own children. Now, as the awakened, we tend to be a little bit more conscious of this. But imagine if you weren't awakened, having those issues and then dealing with your children, right? So expecting others to behave a particular way because they have a title of friend or parent or whatever is what causes us suffering. When we see them as just an individual, as just a person, as just a human, as just a drop, and don't put the expectation that they behave a particular way because they are mother, father, sister, brother, friend, husband, wife, whatever it is, even child. If you expect your children to behave a particular way and they don't, and you are hurt by that, it's not about us. We are hurt because we expected them to do something different. We take it personally because we expected them to love us a particular way, to nurture us a particular way, whomever it is that we're thinking of. That's shifting your perspective. And it doesn't change the relationship at all if you now see them as their 3-year-old selves every time that they say something, do something that triggers one of your memories of trauma from your own childhood, right? Because it takes you back to a thing that doesn't exist anymore, right? Because the past, even though it exists all the time, it also doesn't exist at all because only now exists. So every time you feel yourself going into the same space of hurt, that's a trigger that was installed by them. That every time that they say something pushes that button and you go right back to that same hurt that you felt. And each of us can uninstall that trigger just by recognizing it wasn't personal. It's not about us. They are struggling. They are in their own amount of pain. And while it doesn't excuse it, we, as the awakened, can recognize it and react differently, which changes the energy. It may not change their behavior, although it often does. It may not change their behavior, but it changes the energy around it. It doesn't charge the air the moment that trigger button is pushed,
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful stuff. A lot of work to do.
I just love this stuff.
I'm going to need to practice a lot more, but it's a good start.
We all do.
Here's what happened to me during the meditation. I thought, okay, usual. Whenever we get to work on things, I like to work on, the issues with my mom. But something inside said, "You're overworking this one," and they put me in front of me, and I'm like, heck. So I ended up feeling a little more like my higher self looking at me. Is kind of the way it went, and I was like totally not ready. I'm used to dealing with, forgiving and understanding and loving mom. Now it's me, and the resistance that came up was me. I was observing. I truly, truly don't feel worthy of all the wonderful things. So every issue I have with anyone is me trying to remind myself, oh, look, I can go beyond this. But instead, I'm going to blame that person so I don't have to because I'm worthless. So it's like, oh, wow. So thank you. I got a lot of insight there.
Yeah. And y'all being healers and doing all the things you do. I have found that the universe puts people in front of us that mirror our issues for us to heal. And it's not because, look, you know about this, you can help them the most. No, it's because remember this thing that you didn't deal with? See how you're healing them? Do it to you. Right. Do it to you. It's like a reminder for that. I have a friend who we would go on and do shows and she would do readings and stuff. And every single time somebody would come in that would connect so directly with her own stuff, the thing that makes the tears well up immediately, every single time, because she was refusing to deal with that one particular thing. You know what I'm saying? And it will come back over and over again, especially as a healer, because it's like the universe has a sense of humor here. You know what I'm saying? Like it's joy, it's laughter, it's that is the stuff that is the direct connection to divine. So all of that energy is the thing. And they have a sense of humor about it. Like, it's like, get out your popcorn and sip your tea. They're watching everything that's going on. Plus, if you think about it, we have a whole team of entities, angels, whatever the heck you like. Right. Imagine them all sitting around going, oh, this bitch right here, look at what she's doing. She's going to do it again. Do you think she's going to pick that guy? Yeah, watch. Like, It's constant. Get out your tea. You know what I'm saying? Like always. So we always have to be in that space of taking everything with a grain of salt, being a little bit, okay, I hear you. It's funny. Yes, it's funny. It hurts, but it's funny. I get it. If you can look for that space and find that to sit in your issues with, like this is going to be a great story to tell in 10 years, or, when I get past this, I'm going to look back at this and laugh because the answer was so simple. For example, the issue that is so simple. If you look around at your life and you don't like what you see, either in your own behavior or the behavior of others, if you want your life to look different, and you imagine and you see a life that looks completely different with you in it, you have to change what is going on now and where you are now to get to that. You can't keep doing, seeing, and feeling what you're doing now to get to a different type of life. And that seems like the simplest things. If you want change. But it's actually way more difficult than what we imagine to be, and it's just such simple stuff. So if you can find the humor, you can find any little pieces of joy and stuff, try to sit in that every time you find yourself reverting into the poor me or the anger or the lack of worth, all of that really means nothing because we're already divine. It's a lesson for us, yes, but when we leave this human body, we really don't need those lessons anymore because we already know all that stuff on the other side. Right. It's an amplification. If we think we're training here, if we think this is a lesson, what are we training for, right? What are we training for? Like, think about you're writing your doctorate, like you're getting your PhD in empathy, in compassion, in emotion, in division, in unity, in oneness. And this is like I've heard a lot of people say they're lining up to get here. And then I've heard a lot of people say, please, I want to get out, Honor, treasure, enjoy every moment, even the painful ones. Even the painful ones. When you shift that, you feel the oneness. When you shift that, you feel the energy. I say thank you in my worst moments of pain, in my primal crying on the floor moments. I say thank you. And it sounds ridiculous. And I felt ridiculous doing it when I started doing it. But I have so fewer moments now of that pain. It's like something that the more you practice, the better you get. It's a simple spiritual practice to literally see divine first in someone else, to see divine first in yourself, to see your connection and your protection before you see the threat to you, because there is no threat to you.
Powerful. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that.
So great today.
Yes. Thank you for coming and hanging out with us. If people want more of you, no, absolutely. You know what? We needed it. We needed all of it. Every single word. Every single word. So if people want more of you, which we know they will, where can they find you?
Well, I am here on YouTube, on Facebook, with Unleash Your Light, or you can type in my name, Li Cara. I think I might be the only Li Cara. And I have a website, unleashyourlight.org. I am undergoing construction where I'm creating a clearinghouse of topics. So I have forgiveness. I'm going to have an entire page with videos and written things and memes about forgiveness, an entire page on unconditional love, an entire web page. So you can go there and get all the resources, all the videos, anything you want, you'll be able to find it. Right now, you can go there and get free spiritual texts. I have a resource library. Some are free, some are just a few dollars to pay for the site. And you can get my books if you want to, or you can watch me. Follow me. I have lots of room for friends here on Facebook, so feel free. Anyone can reach out to me. I don't charge for sessions. I don't do that kind of a thing. I'm not a healer. I don't do any of that stuff. So I just yap, and I yap a lot. Whether I'm good at it or not is debatable.
Rhonda calls that pulling it, like what you say, talking out of her ass. Like when it comes through, and you just put talking out of your ass, and it always comes through.
Yeah. I always have to watch my shows back because I never know what I said.
Right.
I never know what came out. Somebody told me, I think it was Emily actually told me that's a conscious channel. When the words come out and you're awake, but you don't know what you said. That's how I write. That's how I do the shows. But really think of it that way. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not something that I have dabbled in that way. So
Yeah.
Right.
however
I
it comes,
totally
it comes.
understand that. Yeah, that's how I do my readings. When I do readings, that's what happens. And I'm
yeah,
like,
that's
I don't know what I
definitely-
said, but yep, that's what's going on.
Yeah.
Don't ask me to repeat anything. I won't be able to. But yeah, that's awesome. All right, we
Thanks,
have
Patty.
three quick questions for you before we leave. And the first one is, if you had to choose a song to be the theme song of your life, what would it be?
Well, I would say in this moment, because there is only now, right?
Yes,
It would be
absolutely.
Unchained
Oh,
by
yeah.
Van Halen.
Mhm.
And the thing that gets me is the lyrics to the that get me is change, nothing stays the same. Unchained, and you hit the ground running. I don't ask for permission. This is my chance to fly. Maybe enough is enough for you, but it's my turn to try. And I just love that. That embodies his energy. David Lee Roth, when he
Right.
was in the front man of Van Halen, embodies that fuck it energy. I'll censor. I'll self-censor. That life is a party and a journey, and I am going to live every moment of it with exuberance. And
Yes.
after my moment where the whole universe quieted, even me, even my own words, it popped me into that, and most of my fears have just drifted away. My whole energy has shifted again, and so I'm definitely unchained at this point. I have no idea what's going to happen, and I'm down for it. I'm here for it. Bring it on, you know?
I love it. That's awesome. All right, so next question is, what's your favorite crystal that you're working with right now?
Well, the one I always have with my shows, I didn't remember your questions. I'm sorry. I know we
That's
had a meeting
okay.
the other day. I should have written them down. This particular rose quartz, it's shaped perfectly for my hand. So I can just put the little curvy thing down. And I have been using this since I started doing my very first show here. I've gotten to a point, it used to be part of the ritual. You know, you light the sage and you do the thing and you wear all the stuff, and I feel like the universe is like, you know that you don't need that stuff, right? And I'm like, yeah, I know, but I still like it, you know?
Yep.
So I do still, when I'm going to do a show, you know, I do still hold it. It's almost like Linus's security blanket, you know, the blue blanket that he carried, more so that it's an actual, you know, like necessary part of my ritual anymore. So yeah, definitely the rose crystal. But when I do my readings, I always have my black tourmaline, because it's, you know, I got my little camera and I got all the things and everybody's watching and all their pain is watching. So I hope that by having my black tourmaline in my readings, that it helps them to dispel that.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah. Oh, and I love turquoise. Good turquoise is so hard to find too, and it is very pricey, Patty. Let me tell you.
It is. All right, third question is, have you ever experienced extra dimensional intelligence? And this isn't just like the channeling and stuff, but also, you know, ETs, things like that, UFOs.
Well, I have seen UFOs for years, since the 90s when I, you know, became an adult. I have ghosts in my house, spirits, or whatever you want to call it. So I could tell you about that if you want to hear. I live in a very historical place, very close to the Jamestown settlement. So the Jamestown settlement is like the first English settlement here in the Americas. And I'm literally like a mile and a half, right on the James River. So it kind of like swoops down where my little row of townhouses is at. I moved here in 2015. And the very first time I was here, the very first night, it's like I've worked as a bartender for so many years. I am up till all hours of the night. That is a very hard rhythm in your circadian whatnots. I don't know the right words. I'm not a semantic girl. To break. Yes, Virginia, Patty. So I'm in the kitchen. I'm getting like a little snacky at like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, probably 3. And I felt energy, right? I turn to my right and I see a row of soldiers marching, right? And so it was like a residual with a little bit of consciousness, because one of them stopped as I'm watching, stopped and turned and looked at me. And then I remembered, oh shit, I'm shiny. Like I'm shiny. You know what I'm saying? Like I already knew I'm shiny. I know that I stand out. I know that I attract these things. So I literally said to him, you're working. You need to go back to what you're doing. You know, you're on patrol. Thank you for keeping us safe. And the entity kind of turned and kept, right on trucking. You know? So it's really fascinating. That's one of those things that I'm interested in getting more into.
Right.
And yet,
Yeah, me too.
I do have a little bit of trepidation. I did allow myself to be trans channel privately and recorded the whole thing and got some fascinating information about the masculine and using that as a structure for strength, internal strength, because as a people pleaser, we tend to be more on the nurturing side than on the, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So that was a nice shift for me. But it's very fascinating to open yourself to all of this stuff and experience it as if it is real. You know,
Right.
the world is magical. And if you allow it to be, rather than judging yourself for being crazy or wrong or fake or whatever it is, if you lean into it, I always say, if I'm crazy, this is the best crazy in the whole wide world. And I don't want to be sane, so.
Absolutely.
I don't know if that answers your question or not. But.
Oh, absolutely. That was a great answer. Thank you so much. Thank you for hanging out today. I just have to announce real quick, the winner of last week's Share It Out, that one with Rhonda, is Patty Husa. So congratulations, Patty. You've been winning a lot lately. Thank you so much for your support. We love you. We love all of our viewers. We are so happy to hang out with you guys every week. And whoever shares out the most this week will be winning with me. So you guys get this out, share, invite your friends. And as always, we are just happy to spend time with you and have our amazing guests here, like Lee. And Lee, we look forward to seeing more from you, and we'll definitely have you back again soon.
Yay! I'm excited.
Thank you so much. All right, let me just get the intro back in for the outro, and we are out of here. Have a beautiful, blessed week, everyone. We'll see you next Sunday.
Namaste.